The Lantern is brought to you by Innovation Economy Banking at JP Morgan.
This is Matt from MGMT Boston, and we've got an episode of The Lantern. Special guest today, Simon Taylor, the founder and CEO of HYCU, the Sultan of Backup and Recovery.
Matt, you're too kind. Nice to be here.
Welcome today.
Thank you.
We're here today to discuss what is going on in the business as we head into the fall, some startup learnings that Simon has for us and that he's carried through 3 companies now, and his ask for the community to figure out how we can help him. So let's get into it. What is going on in HYCU?
Well, HYCU, for those who don't know, it's HYCU, HYCU, and we are the world's fastest growing data protection as a service company.
Wow.
And the world's #1 leader in backing up and recovering SaaS data. So, there's about 30,000 SaaS services in the world. Think about Salesforce.com, think about DocuSign, Okta, Jira, the list goes on and on. It's how we run our businesses today.
Right.
And what HYCU has the capacity and capability to do is to make sure that all of that data, with the click of a button, can be restored in the unforeseen event of data error, data loss, or even, God forbid, a ransomware attack.
Amazing. And obviously, there's a ton going on at your scale. What are some of the key initiatives that you're focused on this fall?
Sure. HYCU today has about 4,000 customers in 78 countries. In fact, we now back up and recover data for every branch of the United States military and the United States federal government.
Amazing.
So this is a big job. And, I have to say thank you to my entire team, every HYCUer, in every country and corner of the world. I would say, from an initiative perspective, we recently launched an incredibly powerful relationship with Dell. As everyone knows, Dell is sort of one of the world's largest technology companies. And when they started to reach out to us, essentially what they said is, we've got so many storage and so many servers and so many organizations around the world. You've got the best data protection in the world for backing up and recovering cloud and SaaS and things like Nutanix. Why don't we come together and why don't we go to our customers and make sure they get access to your amazing software? So we launched that initiative in April of this year. It's been growing really, really well. And we're very, very excited about that partnership.
That's great. Thousands of customers, and this isn't your first startup, it's actually your 3rd startup.
That's right.
So obviously a ton of learnings that have come from that. What are some learnings that you would pass on to operators, founders, and sort of the general Boston community who want to learn what it takes to reach this enterprise scale?
I think first and foremost, when you found a company, it's important to remember that it is not glitz and glamour. When you watch a lot of television or movies about startups, I certainly enjoy them. It looks very cool. It always looks like a heck of a lot of fun. And it is fun. It's an amazing honor and experience to start a company. But what I always say is, when you are a founder, especially in the early days, you're going to be the janitor on a Monday. You might feel like the king on a Tuesday. And Wednesday, you're back to mopping that floor because ultimately you have to be chief cook and bottle washer. You need to do it all, and you need to do it all really well. I think point 2 is that you've got to be able to earn your seat. And this is something I've been talking a lot about recently. And it's something I realized just in this last one with HYCU. As the company starts to scale, you move beyond the 5, 10 million mark, 20, 30, 40, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What starts to happen is that your business has an entirely different set of requirements and needs.
Sure.
And the best way to think about that for me has been every day I come into the office and I sit down on my seat and I think to myself, I got to earn the seat today because the person I was yesterday is not the right CEO for this company. I've got to keep evolving and changing and getting better at the craft. And that's how I'm ultimately going to end up scaling.
Yeah.
And then I think the third piece of advice I'd probably give is partner, partner, partner. When you start out, and even as you scale, there's always somebody much bigger than you. Get the leverage. You always want to be looking for leverage wherever you do, wherever you go. And one of the best ways to go about that is to build true value-added partnerships. And I think, a lot of times people mistake what a partnership really is all about. A partnership is not a one-way street. A partnership is not we sit down together and I win and you lose. That's not a partnership. That's a winner takes all zero-sum game, and it's not going to work for you in a startup. It might have worked when you were in a very big company because you had a big brand behind you. Now it's just you, the brand you create, and your team. And the best way to support them is to give them that firepower of a true 2-way partnership in which both sides come out the winners. And I think a great example of that, in my last company I started, we went out to Citrix and we built a wonderful relationship with them. And essentially, we didn't go out there and say, hey, our technology is the best technology in the world. Isn't it great? You should look at my technology. They don't care. What they care about is their technology and their goals. So we said, well, what your goal is clearly you want to build a great relationship with Microsoft. Here's how we're going to help you do that. And that kicked off a wonderful relationship and ultimately an acquisition for the business.
Amazing. Last but not least, what is your ask for the community? How can we out there in the room, around the seaport, help you grow the business?
Very simply, back your SaaS up. And what I mean by that is ransomware attacks are off the charts. There's now one every 11 seconds. They're getting worse. SaaS is becoming so dominant in our lives.
Right.
Look at what happened with CrowdStrike just recently.
Sure.
The whole world shut down because of a bad patch. So when I say you need to back up your data, I mean all of it. Understand, take stock of where your data actually is, who is actually managing your data, and then make sure all of it's protected, not just on-prem in your basement, but in the cloud and in SaaS services. And if you do that, your business will be safer and you will be better off as a company.
Back up your SaaS. This is Simon from HYCU. I'm Matt from MGMT Boston. This is another episode of The Lantern. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Matt.
This episode of The Lantern is brought to you by Innovation Economy Banking at JP Morgan. With JP Morgan's guidance, your startup can go from growing pains to growing without limits. With tech that powers your growth and bankers across the globe to help you disrupt every market, you can go from seed to IPO and beyond. JP Morgan, let's build your future together.